Achilles tendinitis and bad feet and bad circulation, etc., can come from not just looking after your lower limbs very well. Okay, it's just an outcome from lifestyle choices, etc., as well. But most of the people that train with elite outdoor fitness are pretty kind of well-rounded in the components of physical fitness, and so they've generally got pretty good circulation to their lower limbs. They're normally relatively strong when it comes to like soleus and calves and underneath their feet. And they got quite a good bit of mobility. But the question that I get asked a lot is, how do you fit it all in 1 week? Well, to be honest with you, you don't. If you do, you kind of spend most of your time just stretching. And people struggle with the training as it is, let alone the stretching. But kind of fitting in the things that kind of benefit the lower leg type stuff and kind of steer you away from Achilles tendinitis and Mortons Neuroma and Plantar Fasciitis and all those kind of things, are things such as like plyometrics and stretching and strength exercises and foam rolling and stretching and maybe even some deep tissue massage. And that's not something that you can do every single week. And if you did, you'd just be spending hours at a time doing that and getting bored and you just wouldn't continue. You wouldn't even be training, you'd be doing that, okay? So what I tend to do is I train 3 weeks on, 1 week deloaded. On the deload week, I emphasize my stretching. So I spend the time that I'm not training pretty much just doing a little bit of extra stretching. What most people find when they're coming towards a deload is they're either very tired because they just got the balance wrong a little bit, or they're towards the end of their training program, or they're thinking, I don't want to take a deload yet because I'm feeling really robust and strong and my speed levels are coming up, because they're almost like starting to optimize a little bit or getting close to that. And then when they take their deload, they think, okay, now I can't even be asked to do anything by Wednesday. Now I can't be asked to even get back on my training the next Monday. And with that comes a lack of training, not doing the basic fundamental trainings to keep them ticking over, and increase the adaptations in recovery, but also they start shortening their muscles, okay? Because when you're doing running and you're doing training, you're lengthening your muscles, and so you have a bit of shortening, and then you can get injuries as you start then progressing into your training because of the negative adaptations within that deload week. So it's important to keep on top of stretching. The rest of the time, I just make sure that I do stuff over a period of, like, generally speaking, 10 to 14 days, okay? So some things I don't stretch for 8 or 9 or 10 days, but overall, I'm hitting everything that I need to over a 10 or 14 day period. I'm stretching my hips, I'm stretching my neck, I'm stretching my back, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing bits of foam rolling. I'm just not doing it on specific days, okay? When I go and train, I try and do 10, 20, 30-second stretches, okay? That kind of works well with breathing and also coming in and out of your stretch to help with your central nervous system, because your muscles tend to stick on and they release and they release. And if you go into a stretch and you do that, whether you take 10 light breathing, 3 breathing sessions within that first stretching session, or you come out of it and back into it with a big deep breath, you'll find you'll be able to go deeper and deeper into the stretch. But times 3, and then you'll kind of hit your maximum. And so that's why I do the 10, the 20, and the 30 seconds. And also, I don't do any more than that because I know I'll get bored of it and I won't want to do it. I do that before and after training. And then everything else kind of fits into my 10 and 14 day rotation. So talking specifically about soleus and calves, this is what I do. On Monday and Thursdays, I train my legs, and I do about 100 reps when I'm hitting a specific muscle group. Okay. So for example, if I'm doing soleus and calves at the same time, I'll do a 25, a 22, a 20, an 18, and a 15, okay? And I'll break those up between slightly bent leg for the soleus and straight leg for the calf exercises. And I do those on Monday, and I do them on Thursday as well. A bit more intense on the Thursdays than on the Mondays, because I have a hard week anyway on the legs, normally on a Monday. But during the rest of the week, and this is pretty much every day, every time I'm going up the stairs, I'll stop and I'll do stretches, or I do some strength exercises. Because when you're doing your running and your biking, etc., you are weakening a lot of your muscles, especially as we're getting older. And so you need to do strength work to make sure you're keeping the strength in there, okay? Watch some of Ali's videos. He's great at that type of stuff. And I'm going to be touching on a little bit of that, but probably with a little bit less knowledge than Ali naturally has with his stretching. So have a look at some of his videos, and you're more than welcome to get in touch with him as well. So 3 main areas that I do on my soleus and my calves over a week period is, I'm going to just refer to my notes if you don't mind, eccentric stretching, which has been scientifically proven to aid in recovery, especially from injury, which is 3 seconds down. Let's say you're on a step and you're doing a calf raise. It's 3 seconds down, 1 second up. 3 seconds down, 1 second up. You can do 3, 5, 7, 8, 10 seconds. And I kind of build up to that depending on how my Achilles are. But generally speaking, I start with 3 seconds down. I only go to a level where they're starting to feel it and they're starting to feel fatigue, not maximising on them and going to like failure or anything like that, but maybe about 75-80%, so that I am making adaptations that are going to increase my recovery and strength, but something that I can take every single day. The second exercise that I do is concentric. And so I get to a level, 2 different points, where the muscle is tightened with force at the eccentric and the concentric area. So at the top of the raise, I hold for 3 seconds and then I lower. And at the bottom of the raise, but without the full maximum stretch, just prior to that, when the muscle is at the longest point, I hold for 3 seconds as well. Okay? And that is a great way to help in aid in recovery as well. It's also proven, just as a kind of an offshoot, that when you're doing resistance training, and I do the same kind of principle as well as the 3 points of exercise in strength training, that when your muscle, as it lengthens area, it's its weakest stage, that's where the most changes happen. And so I always spend quite a lot of time at the lengthened state of my muscle. So for example, on a bicep curl, I go slower at the beginning, and then I come in as the muscle is contracted. So, number 3. What do I do as number 3 for my calf and my soleus exercises? I do the 1 second up, 1 second down. And that's only really kind of do 60 exercises in a minute to kind of fit in with my heart rate, which is normally set about 60. There's a little bit of evidence to show, especially with kind of working to aid in recovery after breaks, after strains, and after injuries where you need to help in recovering that muscle or aiding in that muscle to help take the pressure off or build strength up to increase like a bit of recovery in ligaments and tendons, is working with your heart rate, okay? So that you're increasing the adaptations in blood flow and oxygenation, etc., to increase in that area. I do those 3 exercises almost every day of the week. Maybe I have a Sunday off or something like that. And what you'll find is you'll completely steer away from injuries such as Achilles tendinitis. You'll find that when you're exercising a muscle, you're also stretching it. And so you'll have a good bit of stretch underneath your feet. You're less likely to get Mortons Neuroma and Plantar Fasciitis as well, okay? I'm not a sports scientist. This is stuff that I do and that I found that really helps me. And over my decades of training and training hard with like 100-pound Bergens and stuff like that, and competing at quite a good level and putting a lot of stress on my body, it's helped me recover and it's helped me steer away from any injuries. So hopefully this can help you in supporting your soleus, your calf and your underfeet health. Thanks for listening.